Welcome to Plans Are Booked, a podcast for every reader. I'm Molly Geller.
I'm Stephanie Blackburn.
We are a duo today for chapter 108. We're going to be talking about Happy Place by Emily Henry. But before we get into that, there's been a lot going on the last couple of days. We are deep into our television commitments. We've got Olympics. We've got Tell Me Lies. We've got The Pit. We've got a lot going on. Where do you want to start?
Let's just get into Tell Me Lies because I need to talk about it.
Okay, listeners, at the time this episode is airing, this series finale will have already been out for quite some time. So if you haven't had a chance to watch yet, first of all, what are you doing? And second of all, skip ahead because we're going to talk about it in full. And if you don't want to hear that, we don't want to ruin it for you. So just seek ahead a little bit. And if you still hear someone saying Lucy or Stephen or Brie, you haven't gone far enough. Okay? That's my warning.
I'd like to first talk about how I owe an apology to the characters of Diana and Wrigley because season 1, I couldn't stand either of them. I just wanted to punish her for enabling Stephen, and him, I was like, you're just a bumbling fool. Well, joke's on me because they turned out to be wonderful characters in the end.
I will say that the redemption arc for Wrigley specifically was just so unexpected. I really didn't think that I would be rooting for him as fiercely as I was in the end. And he does one final mic drop move that I really did not see coming. I was home alone watching it. I almost stood up and gave him a standing ovation.
Oh, I giggled.
I was like, yes, showrunner Megan. Yes.
They
yes.
did him dirty with that final flash forward long hair wig that looks like it was so dug out of the dumpster.
The wig looked like it was from like an under budget high school theater department.
But otherwise, I mean, just season 1 where we see him in quote unquote present and he's clearly a drunk, has a problem. Then we go back in the past and see him completely muddle up his school football career within like the first couple episodes. And I just thought like, this is such like a stupid side character. Like where is this leading us, having him be like the bumbling fool? Well, I mean, they knew what they were doing, obviously. I want to talk about the ending, and I feel like we can do it in a way where if they haven't watched, they won't necessarily have it spoiled. But my initial thoughts, I was so mad because I just wanted the person who needed to be punished to be punished. I wanted him to lose everything, just like he had hurt so many people. And the more I've thought about it the last 24 hours, that's not life. I mean, we know right now with what's going on with Epstein files, men in power who do dirty things, they get away with it. And maybe that's part of the point that the showrunner was trying to leave us with, is that like it's not realistic to expect that he would end up in jail or would end up dead or something, or even just like lose everything. Because I don't think one, losing everything wouldn't affect him. He was so narcissistic, he would just come right back. But unfortunately, that's not how the world works. Men don't always get punished for being despicable miscreants.
Wow, good SAT word. I feel like for me, there was no justice in this ending, which was really frustrating. If you're a first-time listener of Plans Are Booked, you may not have heard 7,000 times that I'm a Libra. Justice runs through my veins. That is like the only thing that matters to me is fairness. This was not satisfying for me. I do think there's a moment with Lucy at the very end where you're like, is she laughing at herself? Is she laughing at the situation? Is she laughing at the absurdity of it all? Like, it was kind of hard to know what you were supposed to take away from her final expression.
Well, I will say I saw something online where a woman was comparing it to about halfway through the season, Diana explained to Lucy, there's no winning with a narcissist. You have to literally let them think that they won and let them walk away. And that's the only way to sort of get out of it, get away from the person. And so part of me is like, okay, did she did she let him think he had
Mm.
won? And that's why she's laughing because she's finally free.
Mhm. Yeah,
That's what
maybe.
I'm
I like
hoping.
that interpretation. I like that interpretation a lot. I think, man, we went through so much with those two characters specifically, and also just if you've been following the press tour for this final season, Jackson White, who plays Stephen DeMarco, is so much kinder and sweeter and better looking as his real life self than he is as Stephen. The way that they make him ugly in this show, everything from the gross haircut to the outfits to his behavior, he's really transforms into this other person. And what's so funny to me about this cast, and I now can't unsee it after this press tour, many of them are dating in real life. There's more than one couple from the show. There's actually 3. And so when I'm watching it, I'm thinking to myself, you're doing this opposite your real life partner, or you're doing this in front of your real life partner. I don't know. It's just kind of crazy.
Well, and also the creator or showrunner is married to the professor.
Right. Yes. There's also that connection where this extremely gorgeous man doing horrible things actually has a real life connection to her. That's crazy. I will say, I was also disappointed that Alex didn't get more screen time. Alex, for me, has been like I don't want to say bright spot. There's no bright spots on the show, but he has been like the person I'm waiting to come on screen every episode. You just sent me yesterday the announcement that he will become a narrator on the Quinn app. He will join Connor Story and Hudson Williams.
Do I need to now download that app? Maybe.
I mean,
Especially if it's real life accent.
it is a long, cold winter, Stephanie. I'm just going to say that. The other thing I want to say about this show, maybe you're listening to us chat about this and you've never watched it. What I love about it, besides the fact that it's set at a similar timeline to when we were the ages that the characters are, I think the music in this show is the best part.
Oh, the clothing. I mean, it brought me right back to spaghetti strap lace tops and low rise jeans.
Yes. It's like a time capsule of the aughts, and it's so good. The clothing, the soundtrack, the way they interact with technology, that I always notice what kind of phones they have and how they're using like desktop computers in certain scenarios, laptop computers, the way they do or don't have like GPS in the car. There's a million things that are indicative of that time of life. If you finished the show and you're like, oh man, I wish there was more, you can read the book if you haven't done that already. You can get to know the characters that way. I'm sad it's over. 3 seasons did not feel like enough. I could have kept watching this. I think they could have taken the characters at least through the final 2 years of college with more detail. But the showrunner and lead writer said, this is how I wanted it to end. This is how I imagined it from the start. And last night, after I watched it, I saw on Instagram someone who cut all the clips together of the chronology of the year of the wedding. That was wild to see it all from episode 1, season 1, all the way until now. Bless the women of the internet who make these clips. I could never. But it was so helpful to see the arc all at once instead of spliced over 3 years and however long we had to wait in between for seasons. This is one of those shows that I always watched either on the night or the very next morning that it came out. And I love that when you feel like you're part of the fandom and you want to talk about it immediately. I'm just going to miss it.
For me, it was kind of a hate watch, but not in like the regular way that I mean a hate watch. This was more like it was like painful. Like the first 2 seasons, I just felt like there was no redemption. I didn't love or even root for a single character. You know, it was hard for me to be like, Lucy, why do you keep doing this? Like, why do you keep making the worst possible decisions? Why aren't you thinking about it? And then this season, somehow, even though she's making like arguably more awful decisions, somehow this season I enjoyed it in a weird way. But I think I'm okay with where it ended, even though I'm usually a person who likes things tied up neatly, and there were so many like open-ended things. I don't know. I feel okay about it.
There's a hole now on Tuesday nights. I feel sad. However, we have the Olympics. Do you want to tell the people what your like watching has been recently?
Oh, first I want to tell the people that so last week I was gone for over a week. I was dog sitting for family and they had Peacock so I could stream the Olympics literally from the time we woke up. I would just leave the TV on whether I was like walking in or out. Also cuz George likes the TV on when I'm not in the house. So he and I watched the Olympics the entire day. I don't know why I didn't prepare for this better, but you and I just had our 20th friendiversary.
We did.
For anyone who has, I'm pretty sure I've told this story briefly before
Just
on the pod.
tell it again. It's never gets old.
20 years ago, which makes me feel so fucking old saying that. 20 years ago, fresh out of college, living in a small apartment in Somerville with two friends, Molly came up. She was still in college at Wheaton, and she came up for Friday night to watch the opening ceremonies at our house. Did we even have like drinks and food?
Watch. I don't remember, honestly, if there was drinks or food.
I kind of think that wasn't like the beginning of our hosting era. I feel like maybe we had like a bag of chips on the coffee table or something.
Ruffles and hell of a good dip, probably.
Not the way we host each other now. And at some point, probably pretty early into the opening ceremonies, Molly just crashed and fell asleep on the couch. And that was our first time officially meeting. So it's a miracle that we've made it this far in our friendship.
I think what you mean to say is it a miracle that you were interested in talking to me again? I hate to say I've done this with other people. It's not just with Stephanie and the
I'm
friends.
not special.
I'm talking like when I was 11, 12, I had a bunkmate at summer camp who used to get so mad at me when I fell asleep while she was talking to me at night. So like this has been going on for a very long time. You know, I also dated someone where I fell asleep on his couch like 20 minutes after arriving to watch a Patriots game. Sometimes when you're around people that you like and trust, you just allow yourself to like let go and chill. And I'm choosing that interpretation of what happened. But there is not a opening ceremony that goes by that Stephanie does not refresh me on my shit first impression.
Well, but also it's an easy way to remember how many years we've been friends. Because otherwise I would not remember.
That's true. And then a year, not even a year, like 6 months later, I too moved to Somerville. So, that was the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Our origin story.
I have to say, today I was asked to work late at work, and I was like, I have to leave by 3 because men's hockey game is on.
Yeah. So yesterday, I too timed my meetings as best I could to watch the women's figure skating. That is always my favorite event. I am rooting for all three of what are they calling themselves? The Blade Angels or
something like that.
I think that's right. The Blade Angels. So Alyssa had a gorgeous program. Watching her brings me so much joy. Isabeau, also beautiful, but I don't think the judges loved it as much. And then beloved Amber Glenn, who had already gotten a hype video from Madonna, whose song she is skating to, and she was like on cloud 9 because Madge herself sent her a video. She whiffed the easiest jump in her program and wound up in 13th place. I almost burst into tears. I just was like, this is so hard to watch someone who worked so hard and who nailed the way more difficult elements of her program early on lose so many points over something so small. And Tara Lipinski and Johnny Weir, who are amazing commentators, were explaining like why it's such a big deduction, why that can happen, why this is why the Olympics in many cases make way for people who are lesser known, because all it takes is one under rotation and you're in 13th place.
I think we don't talk enough about how ice skaters are so young and the pressure is so huge. I mean, like watching Ilya, was that last week? Whenever
Yes.
that long program was, it was so apparent that he had just gotten so in his head and could not get out of it. And that's heartbreaking to watch, especially after you're wearing the Quad God shirt, which makes you think that the person is infallible. But at the end of the day, they're still human and they have put so much pressure on themselves. Plus, outside pressure. I can't even imagine what that feels like.
I can't imagine it either. And I think what's cool about present day 2026 is that sometimes we get to hear straight from the athletes. They're like making videos on social media, they're sharing their reactions before the event, after the event, with their family, cool gifts that, you know, fans and other athletes are giving them. I think it's been awesome to get that behind the scenes look. And I still will watch all the traditional coverage with the traditional journalists, but it's really fun to get that live from the phone of the athlete perspective on how things are going. And there's been engagements. There's been, I mean, it's just, I feel like in the news cycle where it feels darker than ever. Like if I look at one more redacted email, I just can't. And so having this as a counterpoint to that has felt just, I'm grateful to have something else to distract us amidst being vigilant about those other things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure I can't be the only person of our generation who is like, when this is over, the first thing I'm going to do is rewatch Cool Runnings.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Cutting Edge. Because
listen, we could make like a whole list, right? You could watch Cool Runnings, you can watch The Cutting Edge, you can watch Miracle. Mm-hmm. There's so many good movies about the sports of the, and obviously number one of all time, Mighty Ducks original. But Cool Runnings to me is just like an iconic film of our childhood. I can still hear Sanka singing the Jamaica We Are a Bobsled Team song over and over and over again. Okay. Today we're talking about the beloved Emily Henry. I decided to wear a top that was as vibrant and colorful as her books. We're talking about Happy Place. This book, I was excited to read for a few reasons. It's set in Maine. And as I was reading it, I was getting ready to do my own pilgrimage to Maine. I go every year in February and in August with the same group of friends. This book is also about a group of friends who get together at the same house year after year. So it was putting me in the headspace ahead of the trip, which I was very excited about. Also, the main character in this book is called Harriet, which I don't know that I've ever discussed on the pod. Both of my grandmothers are named Harriet. So I just was like, oh my God, what a cute character name choice. And it's about her best friend becomes lover, Win, short for Wyndham, which I just love as a character name. I was like, I don't know where she pulled that from, but I love it. So the premise, and this happens in the first like 15 pages, so this isn't giving anything away, is that Harriet is invited to Maine with the friends for a last hurrah because the house is going to be sold. She has secretly separated from Win, her boyfriend turned fiance, except none of the friends know that. She arrives, Win is there, she didn't know that he was coming. A great premise. And then we have to see how they decide to either fake it or reveal the truth. And I love the setup. Like, it's not quite fake dating, right? Because they've already been together. It's not quite marriage of convenience because they're not yet married.
And it's not quite second chance romance.
Right. Because everyone thinks they're still together. So it's kind
like
of this
sprinkling. It was a sprinkling of all three.
It was a sprinkling of all three. I agree. Now, I loved the main of it all. Emily Henry has written about all kinds of waterfront locales, actually mostly in the Midwest up to this point. It was cool to see her take on New England. I knew they were going to talk about lobster rolls. I just knew it. It's like one of those. If there was a bingo card of stories told about Maine, lobster rolls would be something you would have to mention. But there were a lot of great descriptions about the ocean and the salt air and the wind and, you know, things that just felt very true. I don't know if Emily Henry has spent time there in her real life or if she went for research purposes, but it felt authentic to me, I would say. I want to read one section. This is where Harriet is reflecting back on when she and Win went from being best friends to maybe being something more and kind of how that felt to her. This is on page 146. We don't talk about what it means or how it will end, but we talk about everything else. Text all day, every day, even from the same room. He sends pictures of the new mystery releases during his shifts at Freeman's to see if I want them, or samples of fabric from the upholstery job he goes to after his bookstore shifts, especially the more abstract textiles that inevitably look extremely and only like vaginas or penises. I fire back illustrations from the medical journals I'm poring over, or give the textiles informal diagnoses, or send screenshots of Google image searches for cowboys and ask him, "Are any of these your relatives?" To which he always has an answer like, "Only the one with all the gold teeth. When he dies, I'm actually going to inherit those." When he goes to Montana to visit his family, he comes back with a stack of 10-cent Goodwill paperbacks for me. She'll be Dying Around the Mountain, Purple Mountain Tragedy, Big Rock Candy Murder, and Cowboys Stake Me Away, the last of which is actually about vampires and was misshelved. When he stops by Trader Joe's on his way home from work, he brings me cartons of ice cream, Maine blueberry or Vermont maple. So much of life is waiting for more of him, and even that torture is bliss. Stephanie's just silently nodding her head. I just think one thing I love about Emily Henry is that she doesn't really do spicy peppers. Maybe I'd give this book 2 spicy peppers for one very excellent outdoor shower scene. But she relies on, like, the feeling and the banter and the nostalgia and the observational nature of getting to know someone and their habits. And because I've been reading so many 5 spicy pepper books, I kind of forgot what it was like to read about this kind of intimacy, like not physical intimacy, but deeply knowing a person. I don't know. What did you think of it?
I first want to read about the first impression of Win because I just loved it so much. So Harriet has just flown in on like a rocky flight, small plane from Logan, and she had not expected this handsome stranger to be the one picking her up. Win makes driving the Jaguar along those dark curving roads seem like a sport or an art form. One corded arm drapes over the wheel, and his right hand sits loose atop the gear shift, his knee bobbing in a restless rhythm that never disrupts his control over the gas pedal. As we get closer to the water, I crank the window down and breathe in the familiar brine. He follows suit, the wind ruffling his hair against his cut glass profile. That one chaotic strand always finds its way back to the right side of his forehead, as if connected by an invisible string to the peak of his Cupid's bow. Bow? Bow? Cupid?
I think bow.
When he catches me studying him, his brow lifts in tandem with his lips. Quicksand, I think again. An old predator-prey instinct seems to agree, my limbic system sending out marching orders to my muscles. Be ready to flee. If he gets any closer, you'll never get away. You're staring, he says, suspiciously. Just calculating the odds that you are in fact my friend's roommate and not a murderer who steals his victims' cars, I tell him. And then picks their friends up from the airport exactly on time, he asks. I'm sure plenty of murderers are punctual. Why do you think our entire generation expects everyone to turn out to be a murderer? He asks with a laugh. As far as I know, I've never met a single one. That just means you've never met a bad one, I say. The banter between them, I don't know how realistic it is, but it was wonderful to read it. I think that I read this book at the right time because I have just gotten back from my trip to take care of George the dog. And every time I'm there, I have this like feeling. I think because it feels like it's the ocean, even though it's technically a lake.
It looks like the ocean.
It looks like the ocean. It feels like the ocean. And it reminds me of the beach house that I had growing up, which was the real meaning of cottage in that it was like 700 square feet and we shoved 9 people into it every single weekend with one shower that had no door but a like 3/4 cloth that hung across it. So if you were showering or shitting, everyone in the kitchen knew what was happening in that bathroom. True cottage. And And when I was about to go into high school, the entire family, because this included many generations, it was more of a compound, there were more houses, decided to sell it. And my parents put in an offer, and the family decided it would not be fair to sell to them. So they sold it outside of the family. And I remember driving away that last time. Ooh, I feel like I'm about to get emotional about this. Driving away that last time and knowing that like all these memories tied to this place and these family members that I may never be able to see again because we congregate for the summer from all over the country is coming to an end. And I feel like that's what this book was because they know that this house is being sold next month. This is their last week to have any sort of like, let's go to the place where we got drunk that time and let's go to the movie theater one last time, and like all these things that are like rooted in these wonderful, happy memories that are not going to be the same anymore. So I feel like it hit me on like a more emotional level than it might have at another time, because I feel like that every time I leave George, as if the dog owns the house, but every time I leave their house, not knowing when I'm going to come back, but also because it feels like this beach house that I absolutely love, I have that feeling of like, it's not going to be the same the next time, type thing. So this was the right time to read this book because it's punching me in the feels.
Yeah, totally. I think alongside that very real nostalgia that you just described, there's so much humor in this book. Like, two of the friends decide they're gonna elope basically while they're all together. And they have this almost like in a movie, what would be like the training montage or like the workout montage where they have 2 hours and everybody splits up trying to like find a photographer, find a cake, find it. There's a scene where they're talking to the baker and they're trying to um like whittle down the price of the cake by saying, actually, it's for a birthday, it's not for a wedding. And they wind up with a pretty hilarious inscription on the cake in order to get the price down. And you have that levity alongside all of this bigger emotional stuff. And I think what is interesting about this book is it is considered a romance book. And when you read a romance book, you're guaranteed a happy ending. And I was talking about it with a friend who said, this was one of the first romance books where, as I was reading, I thought, oh my God, we're not going to get the happy ending. Like, somehow she's going to get away with not giving it to us. And what's really interesting is there's an author Q&A in the back of the book. And I just wanted to read something that Emily Henry said because it helped, I think, illuminate why it felt that way for so many of us who are reading. And she said, I think sometimes we're simply afraid to need. We're afraid that if we ask too much, if we bear our tenderest wounds and show our ugliest sides, we'll find out that we aren't lovable, that we can only keep the ones we love around as long as we cost them nothing, create no burden. That, at least I think, is the plight of the people pleaser. And though I set out to write one kind of a story, and hopefully on some level it succeeded, that's what Happy Place has really come to be about. The ways in which we fail ourselves, cut ourselves off from true, deep, fulfilling joy by trying to bend ourselves into acceptable shapes. This book, like every novel I've written so far, has been a kind of exorcism. It's helped me look more closely at my own relationships, most especially my relationship to myself, in the ways of which I've tended to fail myself. I think that is deeply relatable to those of us who twist ourselves into pretzels to make other people happy. And you feel that when you read it. You feel that both Harriet and Win are like, I couldn't possibly ask her to do this, or I couldn't possibly ask him to make this kind of change. Or if I show how deep my sadness is, she'll run away, he'll run away, whatever the case may be. There's a lot of that where I believe that this has already been greenlit to be adapted. I'm almost positive. I'm hopeful that they get that part of it right. The like minimizing of yourself to try to make more space for what you believe is what the other person needs. I also mentioned on a previous pod episode that the reason I hustled this to the top of my TBR is because the rumor is that Hudson Williams from Heated Ravelry is going to play Win. I don't know if that's true. Now that I've finished it, I'm not even sure if I would want it to be true, but I think it will be exciting to see who gets cast.
See, and the whole time I was thinking like he would be great as Parth. As
yes.
Like the party guy.
Yes.
That would be like a fun thing to see as like a very different character from.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Amongst the Emily Henrys that we have read, where would this rank for you, would you say?
I think I'm pretty sure I've only read 2, this one and Funny Story. I don't know. I mean, they're both very different. So how to compare? See, I was thinking to myself, like, this one is one that I could conceivably say to my mother, I think you might enjoy this, because she, goes to Maine every summer, and I think that she would appreciate that aspect of it. Whereas Funny Story starts off with a premise that I'm not sure my mom could really get behind, because that's like more of like a younger generation would be like, I like this one. So I mean, I'm not feeling like one is higher placed. It's just they're both very different stories, which I appreciate that Emily Henry can write something where it doesn't feel like, oh, this is just like a version number 2 of the same story.
Yes, totally, totally. I was telling Steph right before we started recording that I had lost track of how many Emily Henry books I had read until I was writing my Goodreads review of this particular book. So this is my 4th one. I think before I read this, I probably would have said that Book Lovers was my favorite, but I think this is number 1 for me. Between what we were talking about the nostalgia of the annual trip and being with the people you love in the literal happy place, that's why it's called the title of the book. I think it just has all the feels in all the ways you want, the nostalgia part, the romance part, the reconciliation, the humor. I think she did an amazing job, and I know there has been another book that came out since this that I haven't had a chance to read yet. I think it's called One Big Beautiful Life or A Big Beautiful Life. So maybe I'll change my ranking after I read that. But
I also think that there's something that like slices the feels a little bit more in the we're now adults, our relationships are changing, people are pairing off, people don't have time for each other the way we did in college when we lived together or we're down the hall from each other. The argument that consistently is happening in this book is that one character was supposed to go visit another character, and the one who was hosting just was overwhelmed with their work-life balance at the moment and said, can we reschedule? And it's like a constant like, well, am I ever going to get invited back type thing? And I think that's so real in our life now, currently this age, or even in your 30s. That happens when you're growing up and things take over and you just aren't as free as you used to be, and how relationships have to change. And that's hard. And sometimes, you know, we like to say sometimes there are seasons where you had that season with that person and it no longer suits you. That happens too. And I think that's such a hard thing to write and have it feel like, oh shit, that was a little too close to home type thing. So I appreciated that she did a really good job of that.
I was just going to say, while you were just explaining that, I was like, my God, Stephanie Blackburn's such a good writer. Like the way that you just talked about that. I was like, oh man, she's so good. She's so good. Okay, we think you all should read The Happy Place. I think this is an amazing plane read, vacation read, winter doldrums read. It has an electric pink cover, so you just feel joy every time you're holding it in your hands.
And whatever age you are, I think you're going to find some relatable aspect to it.
Totally. Totally. Do you want to share what you're reading now?
Sure. One of my coworkers, right before I left for dog sitting George, she was like, I need you to read this book because my husband and I are now on the 6th book and we can't stop or I think they might actually be doing audiobook like while they're cooking dinner and stuff together because they read at different paces. Although I did think she said they're sometimes they'll hold the book open in front of them while they're listening.
Wow.
Which is adorable. They're the cutest.
It's like heated rivalry level of commitment.
So this is Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinneman. He has so many books out. The newest one just came out, which is why at our store we've been pushing this one because this is the first in the series. And I think I became aware of this within the first month of working at the bookstore because there was a guy who came up and was getting, I don't know, let's say like the 3rd or 4th in the series. And he was like, I can't stop reading this. It's so good. And I was like, I don't know anything about this. And he was like, oh, I heard that like Seth MacFarlane has optioned it. And in my mind, I was like, then it's going to be hysterical. I don't know if that's true. And I don't know if that still holds. I think this would be a phenomenal TV show. It is so action-packed from the get-go and it doesn't stop the entire time. The premise is that... oh my God, I can't even think of what his name is. Give me one second.
I was like, oh, she's really holding me in suspense. The premise is that...
Why can't I think of what his name is? Oh, Carl. Duh.
Stop it right now.
Okay. Sorry. Okay, so Carl lives with a girlfriend who is on vacation in the Bahamas, and he found on her Instagram that she's actually there with an ex-boyfriend. And he's stuck back at their apartment taking care of her like show cat. Her shortened name is Princess Donut. And he is pissed about his relationship and the fact that he's here taking care of a cat that isn't even his, and he opens the window to like smoke out of it, and the cat jumps out onto the tree. And so he runs outside. It's winter. He's in boxer shorts, his girlfriend's Crocs, and I think he has a jacket on. And he's at the bottom of the tree trying to coax the cat out of it. And all of a sudden, every car, anything with a roof is gone, as if something giant just smushed it flat into the ground. And a door opens up with like a light over it, and a voice comes on basically like in his head, and it says like, your planet has been taken over by the such and such alien conglomerate. You have 1 hour to decide if you want to enter this dungeon to basically fight for your planet's survival, and if not, you can try to survive on the surface. And he's freezing because it's wintertime, so he takes the cat and enters the dungeon. And there are 18 levels on this dungeon. The first book only goes through the first 2, I believe. And I don't even know how to like really truly talk about this, and I know you're probably just like glazing over, but it turns out that like 10 million people have decided across the planet to enter and try to survive. And these like weird alien things start attacking. So you have to like get to the next level to go down the stairs, but you're basically trying to be killed. And also, maybe your fellow humans are going to kill you too. And it turns out this group has been doing this to planets all over the galaxy. It's not just Earth. And it's about, Princess Donut ends up getting a voice. And so she can talk, and she's a little bit sassy. It is fast action, fast paced, fast chapters. I would say there's not like a ton of character development in this first book. I've been told that it happens as you go along. I don't really know what to compare it to, but it would be like a really great HBO or FX type show. And I hope they make it, because I think it would appeal to like a wide variety of people, and it's just kind of fun. But I don't know that I'm going to be continuing, because those are thick books, and there's so many of them that I feel like, okay, I did the first one, that counts, and I think I'll just wait for the TV show.
This book has come up a lot in my social life. Like, many people have mentioned it to me, and I didn't realize how popular and far-reaching it was, because let's face it, I live in like romance or memoir land, and I don't really stray out of that far too much. This is definitely not a book I would see on a table at a store and be like, that, I need to see what that is. I will say it is a very visually, like, it's very eye-catching. It's extremely eye-catching.
Can you see that the kitty is wearing a crown?
Yes. It's great. Like, you talked about with Vanessa Lilly when you were asking her about cover art for her books, we never really know as the reader, right, how much it was the author's vision or the publisher's vision, but that is one that jumps at you off of a shelf or a table. And I think it gives that almost like Pac-Man type vibe, both with the yellow color and the open mouth. It's a mouth, right? Or is it stairs? What's the zigzag?
I don't actually know. That's sort of irrelevant. But it does sort of have a Pac-Man feel, in that you're going down hallways, and like things are chasing you, and there's dead ends and that sort of thing.
Yeah, at least that's how it looks to me as an outsider. I'm going to shift us to a very different kind of book. I have 2 things I want to share, because I just finished one and jumped right into another. So first, I finished Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating. This is a Christina Lauren book. I'm showing you this because this is a teeny tiny book. This is made by Pocket Books Fiction. This book is about half or 60% the size of a regular size book.
Did you buy it in an airport?
I bought it at Lovestruck Books in Harvard Square.
Because that feels like what would be in an airport.
Yes, it does. It does. Or like the way you see books in like CVS. It's very small. Turns out I don't love reading books that are very small. I felt like I was holding it all the way open, that I almost like broke the spine. I was like, okay, won't be doing this again. So the premise of Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating is that they are 2 best friends who keep trying to set each other up with other people, including sometimes going on double dates, and surprise, they actually love each other. And the banter in this is so good. I was smiling, I was laughing. I was reading this mostly on plane rides. It was so excellent. And for those who don't know, Christina Lauren is actually two people, Christina and Lauren, and they always do acknowledgments in their books to each other. And I just wanted to read this very funny one at the end. So this is from Christina to Lauren. To my Lolo, when we first started writing together, it was basically to make each other laugh or swoon or blush. 9 years later, and that hasn't changed. Thank you for being patient while I found my voice again and for loving me no matter what. I thank the universe every day that a sparkly vampire brought you into my life and that you still haven't managed to escape. I love you. That Twilight is like their origin story just really makes me laugh. So if you need something lighthearted where you're just going to smile the whole way through, highly recommend. I also started reading a book that was generously gifted to us. Hachette Publishing sent us a copy of The Encore, which is available to all on March 3rd. And first of all, this cover is gorgeous, like so beautiful. Steph saw the email about this offer before I did and texted me, I think this is going to be like Daisy Jones and the Six / Songs in Ursa Major. You should do this. Like, we should get the book. I am about 175 pages in. It's super interesting. It is 2 separate timelines of a mother and a daughter. One timeline set in New York, one set in Boston. The authenticity of every single Boston description and her jabs at Newton, my hometown, all very accurate. Very accurate. And I don't want to say too much about the plot because I think we will likely do a dedicated episode on this. And also, it would be very hard to discuss this without giving away a major reveal. But I am all the way in. I'm really enjoying it. I think that it's going to be a great new read for people who like some of those books that I just mentioned. And I could easily see this being adapted for the screen. I have not yet read the acknowledgments, so I do not yet know if she's thanking a film agent, but I'm really hopeful that it will make it to the screen because I think it has all the right components in order to be really, really interesting for visual storytelling. So thank you to Hachette for sending this to us. It's been a great first half of the book, and I can't wait to see where it ends. I think that'll do it for chapter 108. Listeners, if you want to see a list of all the books that we talked about today, you can join us on Instagram. We share all the books from every episode. We are at Plans Are Booked. You can write to us, plansarebooked@gmail.com. Share your thoughts, feedback, ideas for other books we should read. If you loved what you heard today, we would be so honored if you would leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. It really helps people find the show.
And until next time, our plans are booked.